car modeling course for the Audi RS6 GT. So this is the latest update. I've been experimenting with the bonnet design, and I seem to came up with a solution but also found some issues. It's not easy to get this design correct. The real car actually has something very similar, and as you can see, it's very specific, I think, to this particular model, and we would love to incorporate this into our own design. However, the problem that I've come across is the crease. I'm getting this unnecessary crease, and I haven't figured out how to fix this problem. Now, the problem is even more obvious when we use a matte cap. It's even more prominent. You can see the crease right there. If I add vertices, well, loop cuts right there, it only makes it more obvious. And in other circumstances, it might be cool, but in this one, we don't want that problem. So I haven't figured out how to fix it, but I'm working on it. Now, in this episode, we'll be working on something different, but I just wanted to share this, that I am working on that. That's still part of the course. Now, this is the other version of our car without the indented design on the bonnet. So where can we pick up what we left off of this course? A challenging part is designing the rear end, of course, and I do tend to like to work on the most challenging parts usually, but also not always. But we can start with something relatively simple. This is not completely on point, so for one, let's reset this by, you know what? We need screencast keys. Sometimes forget that, but we're getting better at remembering it. We're going to press S and X and press 0 to make sure this is straight. I have a feeling this should also be straight. Let's see if that works. Well, it helps, I would say, but not entirely. And we definitely don't want it to affect the rest of our design. It's really weird. I don't know what happened there, but might have made a mistake on our road to victory. And I think it was my doing, of course, because of course, as you can see, there's the glass right there. Well, part of the glass, so it is part of the design, but the part that I don't like is the fact that we know well that this is supposed to be on the same level. So may just have to reset this manually, which is okay because we can just press G and Z and just figure it out from there. Now the rear end, we can start designing that, keeping it simple, of course, nothing too complex. Always good to have some reference images. These are reference images. Like I said, designing this part of the car, now that's going to be interesting because it's all part of the same body panel. So I'm both terrified and curious at the same time how that's going to work. And even just to experiment, just to try something random to see how that would look. And you know what? It doesn't look as bad as I thought it would look. But of course, gotta bring that out. Gotta bring that way. Gotta get an active point. Oof. That's where it gets difficult because you see, that's the panel. This is part of the window, or part of the door, the rear door. Well, this is the window. This is part of the window, part of the rear door. But from the rear, this panel is very, very skinny. So if I were to do something like that, oof, you don't even want to attempt such a thing. I mean, again, doesn't look the worst, but I can already tell. And you know, probably one of the best ways to do this is to design this panel completely separated and then try to find a way to correct it and to connect it. But I just wanted to give you a preview that that's one way we could approach it, but I'm already not liking it. It already doesn't feel right. I would prefer to design it separate and then try to connect it. So let's go back to our original design. Let's undo some of that. And never mind me getting distracted, if we can learn things. So like I said, references are always handy. So based on this design, we're just going to design this little part right here. We want it to follow the design we already have on this side. So we might be able to use what we already have right here. But we must make sure, before we do that, we must make sure that we're happy with this crease. Because we might need to bring this in to keep the distinction of the crease. And it may not need to be in the entire way, but you get my point. Like, if we're going to use this, if we're going to copy and paste that, separate it, we need to turn up the wireframe opacity, then we can turn off the opacity in order to see this thing. But if we're going to use that, we want to make sure that the foundations, we need to make sure that our foundation is on point. And to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned if we've got that perfectly online. Like, I'm somewhat concerned. Like, sort of feels like it's a little bit too far to the right. Kind of feel like it needs to be a little bit more over there, a bit more in the center. Now again, let's view this. Let's see how how does it look from the side? Not bad, not bad actually. We might have been right. And then how does it look from the top? Again, not bad. We might have been right in that assessment. But then again, we might have been wrong. Look at that. Like, if I feel as if the center is somewhere around there. That's what I feel. And ironically, it's a little bit at an angle. Like, it's not perfectly straight. It's a little bit at an angle. So, good that we noticed that. So for one, it's at an angle, so we need to rotate this at an angle just a little bit. And same thing with this one, just rotate it at an angle just a little bit. And then we could probably extrude it just to try something. Now with this one, we'll have to be a little bit higher up due to just how the design is interpreted at that angle from the side profile. We'll bring this back. But you can see what I mean with this thing. It needs to be a little high up, somewhere around there. If the blueprints are not perfectly aligned, that's where we could get things terribly wrong. I'd say this is just about online. And then if we do that, let's make sure we have clip-in enable. Close that off. And even with this part, we gotta bring that out a little bit. Yeah, we gotta bring that out a little bit. So you see the window, we wanted to follow that window design like around there, kind of like that. Not an easy thing to get, and interesting. Like these part, that's interesting. It's a little bit inwards, isn't it? Even these ones right there, even that one is not entire, like it's a little bit too protruded. So we just bring that one right back in. Wonder if we can bring this one closer also. See how that's affected. See where it was before versus where we sort of want it to be. And I want it to follow that line. Like it needs to look as if it's uninterrupted. And then we can add some sort of loop cut around there. If we did add a loop cut to this side as well, again, want to have this feeling that it's uninterrupted. And because it's uninterrupted, technically this should be on the same level. Kind of like that. And if that's the case, we will have to raise those as well. Not all the way, but you get my point. It's all raised gradually, somewhat. And we'll always have a little bit of a interesting thing going on right there because of how it naturally just warps. And I wonder if this is an area where we should also adjust manually. And to be honest, when I do that, it looks brilliant. It absolutely looks brilliant when I do that. And to be honest, I'm just wondering about this and this part also. Because you can see right there, this line should be lowered. Again, to active point, and we might have to just adjust some of this. Honestly, we might have to. This will take a while to get right. I don't know why, but it feels like this could actually take a while to get right, which is not a bad thing. I'm trying to avoid adding too many unnecessary loop cuts, but I feel as if we might need another one. And that's not bad, you know, like if that works, it works. But what if it doesn't work? I like it, but I don't like it. I like it, but there's something about it that I find a little bit unsatisfactory. But you see this basic shell of the car, I want to make sure that we sort of ace that part. I'm going to try something crazy. I don't know if this is going to work, but I feel like I want to try it anyway. I'm going to try to bring these vertices down, start working on that point, and you can already see what kind of problems this would create. Again, there's no way in heaven I would keep this, but I'm just trying something to see how horrible it looks. Because what I'm trying to get is, it's not that it's difficult designing that part, but I'm trying to do it and keep the crease, but only there. You see that crease, that beautiful crease that we've been working on? It only lasts until the light unit ends. It doesn't go as far as the license plate, which essentially means sort of have to bring this around that area. That's interesting, isn't it? Ooh, what happened there? Why isn't all of that online? So we almost have something positive working there, but we sort of messed it up. Let's try again. So this part, that's too far, around there. So this part, let's just bring this down manually. Yeah. And this part, sort of like that. And of course, this part, we bring this out. I wonder if we need that at all. Because if it's completely unnecessary, then we don't need it. But as it turns out, it looks as if it's okay. It might actually serve a purpose. Is it just me? But it looks like this can still work with some... And this can still be adjusted inwards just a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit. And it feels as if this entire thing can also use a little bit of adjustment. I didn't even think that would work, but why does it look better? For some crazy reason. Do we need another one right there? It can't just be me who thinks it looks okay. I thought by adding so many loop cuts, it would look terrible. It would look way worse. But somehow it actually looks okay. And let's just save that, because if anything, we can also remove those and work from there. But I'm curious now, what do we keep? What do we get away with? You see how from this angle, these look like a little bit off? Can't just be me. From this side, it just looks... And I know we did this on purpose because we wanted it to be slanted. That was literally part of my request, is that it's slanted and that it's not straight, because that's literally how the car is designed. It's slanted right there. But from the rear, it gives it this impression that it's like a little bit underwhelming. Let me see this from this angle. Not bad. This from this side looks okay, but from that... So I also think that it is possible that the blueprints are not fully aligned. So keep that in mind. Yeah, it's possible that the blueprints, it's possible that I might need to just adjust this blueprint just a little bit. I'm looking at where the tires are when I set up my blueprint, you know. From the rear just a moment ago, yeah, the tires were below it, but once I adjusted, the tires are a little bit above. In fact, could even get it a little bit higher. Only a tiny amount. Why? Because now we can see that this entire thing might require some raisin. And no, not raisin like the fruit. Is it a fruit? Is raisin a fruit? I honestly don't know. And then we can probably raise this one as well. This is interesting. So now how do we keep this crease and how do we get rid of it on this side? Because we don't need these. Truthfully, we don't. We don't need those, kind of. These ones, we don't need those. Happy accident. Look at that design. Look at how weird that has turned out. Well, certainly turned out a little bit creative. Let's try to see what we can do to mend that issue. And again, I'm just experimenting. I have no idea if this will work, but I'm literally just experimenting. Honestly, first impression, it doesn't look too bad. But we can clearly see this right here. It needs to be a little bit more elegant. And this should not go that far. Truthfully. It's supposed to cut off around there, not there. As strange as that is. You can see it cuts off before the end of the light unit. It's quite incredible. So we're actually going to undo that and undo those as well. And then we can do that. Now I think this might work. It might not. Yeah, that's more like it. Now, how do we get it all to flow? Because that's the one thing, it does flow real nice. That's coming from a high point to a low point. So, whew, the blueprint looks a little bit different though. The blueprint doesn't give us that perspective. The blueprint is almost like it's too perfect. Now you can see right there, that shouldn't be that flat. But also, it's almost as if, it's almost like I've gone wrong somewhere. But where exactly? Do we need to bring this entire thing up? I don't know, probably. This area right here, it just looks a little bit weird. Or perhaps I need to bring these down, kind of like that, where that's a little bit more elegant, but I'm also having to disobey the blueprint, which is nice sometimes. And then there's other times where I'm like, kind of want to follow the blueprint as close as possible. But you also have to trust your judgment and understand that the blueprint is not always right. Sometimes sometimes you as the designer have to make these final calls, like what feels right, not just what looks right, you know? This area is another thing, like I have no idea what's going on there. I'm having a bit of a problem there, but that's another area. You know, something I haven't been doing with this design that I've learned to do with other designs is while I'm designing the body panels, also design the extrusion. So obviously, so it doesn't look like a complete cutoff, you know? I've been practicing this quite a bit, especially with more recent car designs that I've been practicing with. I've been practicing that quite a bit. And it's a good discipline. This is something I didn't put a huge emphasis on previously, but obviously more recently, I've also learned about, well, I've just discovered for myself, like, there are benefits to doing this early on, in fact, and not waiting too long to start doing this. Okay, that's interesting. It's kind of like that entire design is driving me crazy. Also, if I turn up the render, then it helps, but without it, it just feels so unorganized. Like really unorganized, you know? But if I turn up the render, then it looks damn near perfect. You know, just changing the render on this body panel. What did I have the render on previously? So what the render was on, you turn that up to 4, level 4 viewport, you can see how smooth that is. But it's like I said, do we really want to wait until the end to start thinking about those things? Is it time to work on the logo? No, probably not. And why is this from the rear? Why is this not flat? What happened there? Yeah, something happened there. But what happened there? And when did this happen? Did I do that? Can you notice the blueprint is not aligned? And literally, I fixed this problem during the last episode. Yeah, the blueprint is not aligned. Please, let's delete that and let's go get the blueprint again. So it's the blueprint from the side profile. I have no idea what happened there, but I might have messed up something. Let's try to get that working again. Turn down that opacity and align the blueprint with our design around there. Okay, even this blueprint is messed up. Okay, so the one at the top is fine, but the one for the rear, even that one is not perfectly aligned. So even, I'm serious, look, it's not perfectly aligned. So even that one, we'll have to, why the hell is it now telling me that this one is also, okay, something is weird has happened. Something really, really weird has happened. But I'd much rather the blueprint to be off than my design to be off, seriously. Because I've already had that issue where the design was off. So that's fine now, I think. But the blueprint for the front, apparently that one's messed up as well. So now we only have 2 blueprints. But that's 2 blueprints that are working pretty damn good. Now, I'd rather have 2 blueprints that are working pretty damn good than to have blueprints that are unpredictable and just wrong, just incorrectly aligned. I'm using these little areas right there to gauge the blueprint's accuracy, and I feel as if that's pretty damn good. In terms of where the tire is, I'm gonna leave it around there for now. Yeah, I must have did something to screw up the blueprint again. Because 1 minute the blueprint was fine, and the next minute it was off. And to be honest, I shouldn't complain too much because I was adjusting the blueprint a little bit, but I didn't think I would mess it up. I didn't think I was messing it up. But this is a good thing to learn that, you know, it does happen. And when it does happen, correct it as soon as you can. Don't leave it for too long. But that's it. I just wanted to design this little area right there. We'll get this car designed one part at a time. But I feel as if I'm going to do it right, then I want to do it right. And another thing, the bonnet of my car is aligned to the cube. But I think in object mode, if I press Control A and apply locations, that could fix the problem. Ah, I see. So it looks like we already tried this. And this is the reason why. Now, usually this should work. This should work. Usually. But if I do that, then the hood of my car is offline. And we don't want that. So we'll continue using the cube. But usually when you apply location, that usually fixes the problem. But not in this episode. So we spoke about quite a lot in this episode. And I don't know, the car is starting to look like something usable. And honestly, if you want to hide the cube, you can. For one, we can shrink the design, and we can actually move it to the rear. We can actually move the design up also. Essentially just hide in the cube if that bothers you. If having a big cube bothers you, you can pretend it's the engine, an electric motor. If that bothers you, you can just hide it. And as long as you don't move it off the axes, all I've done is move it on the y-axis. I've moved it on the y-axis, I've reduced the size, but I won't move it on the z-axis. I think you can also move it on the, well, don't move it on the x-axis, that's what I should say. But you can move it on the z-axis, you can move it on the y-axis, and it doesn't mess up your design. But we'll keep it there in a fixed position. I think we should also set origins to geometry and just double check that this didn't affect anything negatively. I'm just undoing it and redoing it to see if it didn't mess up my design in any way. But you know what? I'm proud of like how this looks so far. I am proud of how this looks so far. You should be proud as well. Like seriously. And I think we might be able to bring this out a little bit more. And I think ironically, based on the blueprint, I think these light units should come back a little bit. I'm not even joking. Look at that. You know, it's a little bit far out, and based on everything, it should be somewhere around there. That's just something I noticed from a different perspective of the blueprint. But even in saying that, it messes up our design a little bit right there. Yeah, which makes me think this may need to be a little bit more elegantly aligned. Even this part might even, but I feel as if in order to avoid messing up this part, we need to make sure that it's not too uneven. And that's breaking the rules a little bit, but it's still an improvement overall. And it saves the design. It actually keeps everything cohesive. Yes. You remember this area? This is another thing that we've been having an interesting experience with, and not so easy to fix. Look at that. Like, how does it expect you to fix this? Maybe by adding a loop cut on the underneath somewhere that it wouldn't be too visible, like there, and then maybe adjusting these right there. And even still, it would still have a little bit of a problem. But if we raise the quality, may help. We added a vertex around there. You can see there's a crease, but is that crease needed? It's a good question. Do we need that crease as a part of the design? Honestly, I don't think it's part of the design. But this was just a late experiment to end the episode. I won't keep this design because I don't like it. Doesn't make full sense. Just going to go back to what we had, and we're going to finish off right here for this episode. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to check out our BMW M2 car design course. It's available on Gumroad, and it's doing pretty damn well. And thank you all for the support on the channel and buying my course. We're going to continue learning how to design cars in the best way possible. I will see you in the next episode. Peace.